When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. My name is Malala Yousafzai. I am just a 12-year-old girl born in Pakistan on July 12, 1997. I was named after a Pashtun heroine named Malala. She wanted to help the world, but she got shot and died. My first speech was on September 1st, 2008 at a local club in Peshawar. I have been blogging about life under the Taliban ever since. Saturday, January 3rd, 2009. I had a terrible dream yesterday with military helicopters and the Taliban. I have had such dreams since the launch of the military operation in Swat. My mother made me breakfast and I went off to school. I was afraid of going to school because the Taliban had issued an edict banning all girls from attending schools. On my way home from school, I heard a man saying, "I will kill you." I hastened my pace, and after a while, I looked back to see if the man was still walking behind me. But to my utter relief, he was talking on his mobile and must have been threatening someone else over the phone.
Malala Yousafzai was born in the Swat Valley region of Pakistan and grew up in the city of Mingora. She is a human rights activist and is best known for fighting for the rights of women to receive an education. She was named after a famous Afghani poet and warrior named Malala of Maiwand. Malala was an excellent student growing up and shared her father, Ziauddin's, love of learning. She spent her childhood playing outside and exploring new worlds in books.
Her father is named Ziauddin Yousafzai. Her mother is named Torpeke Yousafzai. And she has two brothers, Kushal Yousafzai, who is currently 14 years old, and Atal Yousafzai, who is currently 9 years old. Her father Ziauddin was an outspoken social activist and educator, and encouraged Malala to follow his path and wanted her to have every opportunity a boy would have.
Ziauddin promised that Malala would go to school and be treated with equality in his home. In doing so, he established and administered the school she attended, Kushal Girls High School and College. Malala had an extremely joyful childhood and home life.
But in 2007, tragedy struck. The Taliban had finally invaded Swat Valley. Although there were various violent incidents involving the Taliban in Swat Valley prior to 2007, citizens had always thought that they were safe from the Taliban.
The Taliban is a Muslim extremist group led by Maulana Fazlallah. They are best known for their brutal treatment and oppression of women and girls. The Pakistani Taliban began imposing strict Islamic law in Swat Valley. This included forbidding women and girls of being educated after the age of 8.
They destroyed and shut down girls' schools, banned women from any active role in society, and carried out suicide bombings. Under their control, women were not allowed to leave the house if they were not accompanied by a male relative, and if they were not wearing a burqa. Those who disobeyed were publicly beaten.
Women were not allowed to go shopping, male doctors were not allowed to treat girls and women, employment for women was restricted, girls' and boys' primary schools were shut down, and pork, alcohol, music, technology, filming, the internet, art, photography, and female participation in sport were all prohibited.
Men were also forbidden from shaving their beards and were required to wear a head covering. All of the Taliban's regulations became more severe after they took control of the capital.
In May to October of 2009, the Pakistani army moved to Swat to force the Taliban out. The fighting ensued and more than 1 million Swat residents fled their homes to other parts of the country, the Yousafzai family included.
On September 1st, 2008, Malala's father took her to a local press club in Peshawar to protest the school's closing, and there she gave her first speech titled, "How dare the Taliban take away my basic right to education," when she was only 11 years old. Her speech was publicized throughout Pakistan.
She also wrote a blog for the BBC when she was 11 and 12 years old about life under the control of the Taliban. She used the pen name Gul Mackay to conceal her identity. She was interviewed multiple times for the BBC as well.
In November 2011, the Pakistani army finally weakens the Taliban's hold on Swat Valley, and they are forced to retreat. To this day, the Taliban no longer remains in Swat, but they remain in rural areas outside Mingora. They decide to target Malala due to the increased prominence in Pakistan and around the world.
After the Taliban's retreat from Swat, Ziauddin School reopens on February 21st, 2009, and Malala is excited to return to school. Although she fears retaliation for speaking out against the Taliban, she continues to publicly campaign for girls to go to school.
Malala began to receive an outpouring of support and recognition for her activism. She won Pakistan's first National Youth Peace Prize in 2011, and it was even named after her. However, on October 9, 2012, Malala and her family's worst nightmare came true. When Malala was 15 years old, a masked gunman who was a member of the Taliban boarded Malala's school bus and asked 3 girls, Malala and her friends, Shazia and Kainat, who was Malala.
Shazia and Kainat looked at Malala out of fear, revealing her identity. Malala was shot in the head, neck, and shoulder, and Shazia and Kainat were also injured in the attack.
Malala survived but remained in critical condition and was transported to the UK for treatment. Her parents were told that she had a 70% chance of survival. People in Pakistan and all around the world prayed for her recovery.
Finally, after multiple surgeries and months of rehabilitation, Malala is discharged from the hospital in January of 2013 and rejoins her family at home in Birmingham, England. Malala began advocating for girls' education more than ever, and she did this in multiple ways. Her first public appearance since the attack was on July 12, 2013, her 16th birthday, as she spoke at the United Nations. There, the UN declared her birthday, July 12, official Malala Day. Malala promises each year to dedicate the Malala Day to shining a spotlight on the world's most vulnerable girls.
In October 2013, Malala and Ziauddin, determined to continue their campaign for girls' education, set up the Malala Fund, an organization dedicated to giving all girls across the world access to education. On October 8, 2013, Malala releases her book, I Am Malala, which was a New York Times bestseller in 2013.
Over the next few years, Malala meets with girls all around the world and many heads of state, carrying her message of girls' education and equality.
Malala also became the youngest person in history to receive a Nobel Prize. She won for the Peace category in 2014 and was nominated in 2013.
Malala is now 20 years old and she lives in Birmingham, England with her family. She is currently enrolled in the University of Oxford and is studying philosophy, politics, and economics at Lady Margaret Hall. She continues to balance her schoolwork and social life, leading the fights for girls' education. She used to want to be a doctor, but now she's focusing on politics.
Malala has been many things over the years: an enthusiastic child, a strong-willed teenager, a feminist icon, and an activist. But one thing she has always been, and always will be, is a bright, intelligent student. Because Malala herself once said,
One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world.